17,306 days ago. 17,306 days ago. Something happened to me. A very special something that not only changed my life, but also changed the way, to tell you the truth, that I now understand the scripture reading. Let's read it. See what you think. It's from 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter. Rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God and Jesus Christ for you. Do not quench the Spirit. Rejoice always. What a special phrase that is. It's very uplifting. I thoroughly enjoy that. And it just so happens, of course, the reason this is selected out of our lectionary this week is that this is the third Sunday of Advent. And our theme is joy. If you understand, rejoice and joy are really cousins, brothers, sisters. They come from the same Greek word. Joy, rejoice always. It's kind of a salt and pepper relationship. You can't have one without the other. If you have joy, then of course you're going to rejoice. And if you rejoice, that's because you have joy. Rejoice because you have joy. It's a relationship that grows over time, but it's there. Rejoice always. The problem I have with this is, how do you do that? You see, rejoice, and a joyful life is not just a one-time deal, kind of like happiness. Happiness is much more short-term. Your favorite team wins, the Phillies win, and Linda's going to be real happy. The Phillies don't win. She's not going to be happy. We go to the dentist. Sandra's been to the dentist fairly recently. You know, how happy she would have been if she got a good bill of health and said, "You're good." No. She went in for quite extensive dental care. She's not happy. There are so many things in our lives that can make us happy, but can turn right around and make us unhappy. That's very surfacey. Joy, rejoicing is much deeper, much deeper. And so that's what Paul is saying to the Thessalonians. Rejoice always. Have a joyful life. What did he know? You know, it could be that maybe the Thessalonians, well, they lived on easy street. Everything was fine. Everything was easy. They had everything they wanted. Life just went right down the path like it was supposed to. And what could you ask for more than that? But that wasn't the case. They struggled. They fought oppression. They fought everything you can imagine. Life was not easy. And yet Paul is saying, rejoice always. So maybe it's Paul, not really thinking about the people and their problems, but that he lived on easy street. Everything Paul touched turned to gold. He had such a lovely life. We know that's not the case either. That he struggled. He probably, in reality, lost more than he gained. Paul struggled with life. And yet he's the one saying, rejoice always. How could that be? What is it that Paul would want us to know about what this means and how it could be? Let me share a couple stories. This was a story I came across actually many years ago. And it was a nice story back then, and it resurfaced. I honestly don't know if it's true or not, but it's a fun story. A 92-year-old woman was sitting in the lobby of her new place to live. It was a nursing home. Her husband of 70 years had passed away a couple of years before, and she was blind. And it finally became the time where it was her time to go. No longer capable of living in her own house. The young man who was attending to her, that was going to take her to her new room, that was his job. And he knew that quite often that did not go well. That the majority of people who came in there really didn't want to be there. They really loved their independence, and that's what they wanted, but now it seemingly that had been taken away from them. And so he kind of, if you will, girded his loins, as they say, and he was preparing himself for what usually happened. He walks in, but he put on a good face. He spoke very energetically, very positively. He called her by her name and said, "You're going to love this place. You won't believe how lovely your apartment is." Then it hit him, of course, that she was blind. She couldn't see. But that didn't stop him. He kept going and saw that you are in a room that's just in a beautiful place. You'll get the morning sun. And he went on, and finally she said, "Stop. You don't need to say anything else." And he'd heard that before. And he was thinking to himself, "Oh, here it comes." So he started a little bit more trying to convince her this was a good thing. He said, "No, please stop." And he stopped, and in that awkward silence, then she spoke again, "Because I already love it. I already love it." And she went on to say that she had come to the realization in her life that she had a choice in life. And she had chosen to love anything that came her way. That was just going to be her attitude. That she was going to love it. She would not just make the best of it. She would love it. Isn't that a wonderful story? Just makes you feel warm and fuzzy, maybe. Let me share another story. Frank Shorter. I don't know if you know Frank Shorter. He won the Olympic gold medal in the marathon in 1972. That was the first time an American had won the marathon in an Olympic in many, many years. In fact, it was of the turn of the century, 1904 and 1908, when an American had won. But back then it was very, very different. Back in 1904, 1908, there were like 19 runners representing 4 countries. About half of the field would even finish it. It was just very casual. In 1904, it was in St. Louis in the summer. It was hot. There was one man, Fred Lorz, L-O-R-Z, who he started out. He was a good runner. He started out, but you see, the path was not separated. There were cars going alongside of the runners. It was just a normal day. But not too far into it, he developed leg cramps. And he realized he couldn't make it. But about that time, there was a car that came alongside and stopped. He opened the back door, jumped into the back seat, and said, "Go." For 11 miles, he gave directions so they knew how to go. And by that time, you realize a marathon is like 26.2 miles. So it's a long ways. But he finally recovered, and so he jumped out of the car, finished the race in first place. He's on his way to the podium to receive his gold medal when somebody says, something's wrong here. Didn't we see you get out of the car back then? He did not win the gold medal. But that's how casual, that's how just no big deal it was. In 1972, it had changed. It was a worldwide competition. Over 40 countries were represented, almost 80 runners. And these were world-class elite athletes. Frank Shorter won the gold medal, something that no American had come close to doing before. In the interviews in a few weeks after that, he was asked, "How'd you do it? All these elite athletes, how did you do it?" And his response was that I knew that I had to work harder than they did. So I made my decision. One time, I made my decision. I would get up every day and work out. One of the reporters asked, "But you live in Colorado." And he did. He said, "Right outside of Boulder, Colorado. You don't get snowy and icy and windy and cold and lousy there sometimes. How did you do that?" And so he responded saying, "I knew that if I waited until every morning to get up and then decide, I would probably figure out that it is too cold. It is too icy. It is too windy. It's not good enough weather. Or maybe I just don't feel very good. Or maybe I just have too much to do and I wouldn't run. But I made that decision one time, that that's what I was going to do. And he did. And he won. Isn't that a nice story? I've given you 2 nice stories today. How can you beat that? I mean, this is good. Except the problem is, I don't really like those stories. You see, I think about it. This 92-year-old woman, I'm so pleased for her. But you know what? I'm sorry. There are some things that I cannot love. There are some things I cannot love. I don't love what happened to David Kine. I do not. I cannot. I can try to make sense of it, but I can't. I cannot love that. I'm just going to say this, folks, and I use this title very, well, I don't even want to use it. But I cannot love what's going on in the White House. I cannot love what this person there that lives in the White House is doing. I can't love that. I cannot. I cannot love racism. I cannot love prejudice. I cannot love oppression. I cannot love that there are children all over the world that are going to die today because they don't have clean water. I can't love that. You see, that's a nice story, but I can't say I'm going to love every single thing that comes into my life. I can't. That does not bring me joy. And as far as Frank Shorter, I applaud him. That's marvelous. But I don't know about you, but life is too real. That things change. I know there are some things that many years ago I believed to be true that I no longer believe in. There are things that I understood that now I've grown and I don't see it the same way. No, I don't think I could ever say I made that decision one time and I'm sticking to it. Because I want to be able to grow. I want to be able to learn. I want to be able to dialogue. I want to be able to figure out that there are changes in the world. And for me to be brave enough, to have enough courage to say, maybe I need to learn more. So I can't, those stories, nice as they might be, and that's the problem. We might like to use those stories and say, that's the formula. That's the recipe for finding joy and having a joyful life. But it doesn't work for me. So what is it? What is it then? Let me tell you what happened 17,306 days ago. Now I know there are some here that you've been mulling this over in your mind and you may have been trying to figure out how long that was. I'll help you. 47 years, 4 months, and some odd days. I was dating a young woman back then, a young lady. And we had met officially in the fall of 1969. I say officially because we went to the same high school. She was 1 year younger than I, and it was a very large high school. We had friends in common, but had not really met. In the fall of 1969, we met briefly, and it was the summer of 1970 that I finally asked her out. You could say he's not very fast, huh? Just not very quick. Not a good quick study sometimes. But after a few dates, I started realizing that there's something special going on here. There's something deeper than just dating. We were going to go to a movie, Woodstock. I don't know if you remember Woodstock 1969 in the summer that happened up in upstate New York. We didn't go there. 2 kids from Texas, as we would say, that was a fur piece away. In many ways, But we went to the movie. That was that next summer. I honestly can't tell you much about the movie because that night I had decided I was going to make my move. Now you need to understand, I was kind of timid around the opposite sex. I was kind of slow. I had decided I was going to hold her hand. That was my big move, folks, you know. Bear with me, you know. So we're in the movie, and I'm stewing in my juices, trying to figure out how am I going to accomplish this. Because to tell you the truth, there's three things that can happen in this moment. Only one of them good. The second thing is she might just slap my hand and just say, "No, Bubba, you know it's not going to happen." That'd be pretty clear. Or she might just be very polite and just kind of gently move her hand away. Look the other way. That'd be a clear signal too. So that I was there, and I don't know much about the movie because I was just trying to figure out when's a good time, how am I going to do this. If I put my arm a little bit more on the armrest, and maybe. So I finally got the gumption up, and I finally made my move, and my hand landed on hers just perfectly, and she held my hand. Now I agree, yeah. Of course, you know that's this young woman right over there, my wife Nancy. But you know, 17,306 days ago, something happened. We started holding hands. And we've held hands since that time. Walking in parks, walking on a sidewalk, on a parking lot in a shopping center, shopping mall, good times, bad times. Walking down a hospital aisle, walking into a funeral, walking into those times when life has turned us upside down and inside out. And you know what I found? That whenever I reached out, unlike that time in the movie where I was full of doubt, where I was full of, I don't know how this is going to work out, but every time I've reached out, her hand has been there for me and with me. There's a physical part of that. Holding hands, we do it in our circle when we close and worship. There's something about holding another person's hand. You feel their pulse, you feel their warmth or coldness. You feel their presence, you feel their reality. But there's something else other than that. It's that understanding that that hand is going to be there. I think this was what Paul was talking about on rejoice always. You see, the gift of joy. You have the gift of joy, and that is holding hands. Now, I don't know how this works. But I am convinced that whenever I reach out to God, maybe I'm sitting still, maybe I'm walking, maybe I'm crying, maybe I'm laughing, I'm living life. Whenever I reach out to God, somehow God holds my hand. It was Jesus who said, "Come to me, you who are weary and heavy laden, you who have big burdens that you can't carry, and you're looking for something to help you. Reach out to me, come to me." I don't know how it works. I do not know how it works. And I don't want to know how it works. But somehow, when I reach out to God, God takes my hand. But you know, I talked about the gift of joy. And the gift of the gift is that just like I have known for 17,306 days that whenever I reached out, Nancy's hand would be there. For that many and eternity, I've known that when I reach out to God, God will take my hand as well. It's that assurance. I don't have to sit in doubt. I don't have to plan my next move. I don't have to try to figure it out. Because I can have this affirmation, I can have this confidence that says, there are those times when I especially need to hold the hand of God. And God is there. And I know that's that gift of the gift. I know that God is there. This gift. It's not like the 92-year-old woman who just decides she's going to love everything and in some ways, bless her heart, not facing reality. It's not like Frank Shorter who decides one time. Because we don't create joy. We don't manufacture it. Instead, we receive it as a gift. That gift of the gift. This gift, I hope, I pray, that each one of us can find that way to reach out with that same confidence, with that same trust, with that same faith, and know that we can't explain it, and we don't need to explain it, but somehow, when we reach out, God will take our hand. The gift of the gift of joy. Merry Christmas.